Alright, time to make fire. Oh, all the snow. All the snow on the ground. There's got to be a better way than bow drill. But there is. There's the Arctic way, called the Arctic strap drill. Let me show you. Before we get our coal with our strap drill, first we have to make our fire lay and get our bird's nest ready. And where I live, up in the northern part of New England, New Hampshire and Maine, we use what we call a twig bundle for our bird's nest. And it's comprised of mostly evergreen twigs. And I'll show you how I get that. So here we are at a small patch of conifers. All the branches on the low portion of all these trees will be dead. So same thing with any tinder. If it snaps, it's dry. You want to gather all these branches from the bottom. And the more the better. Until you get something like this. Okay. Just crimp them up and then you fold it 3 times. So you have a kindling in your smaller pieces, which is your tinder. Fold it once and then fold it again. If you have a match or a lighter, you can just light that underneath. As soon as the little small pieces catch on fire, then you turn it to get the whole thing on fire. So we'll lay this down. Okay. I like to have 2 pieces on either side to create like a bridge effect, so I have lots of airflow coming underneath. Now we'll get some birch bark and maybe some cedar bark. We'll rough that up into a nice bird's nest, and so we can stick the bird's nest underneath. Okay, here's our birch tree. This is a nice big example of it. All these pieces that are flaking off, you want to gather all these pieces. And birch bark is great tinder. It's readily available in the wintertime all year round. This stuff will burn even when it's soaking wet. It'll burn with a flame even when soaking wet. Gather all this stuff. So, a nice piece like this will make a great welcome mat for our amber on our strap drill. So now that we got our birch bark, here. And we have some cedar bark that I gathered a couple days ago. Here. Okay. This nice welcome mat, we'll put this aside for our strap drill. We got our cedar bark here. And we're going to strip this, process this down into strips by twisting, breaking. Okay. And you just work it until it's fine fibers. And any dust that falls, I want it to fall onto my bird's nest here. The key to a good bird's nest is lots of fibrous material. So as you can see, that was pieces of bark. Now it's all nice and frayed out, fine little fibers. Okay, now I'll pan this out into like a pancake, and then I'll strip down some of that birch bark and I'll put it right in the middle. So here's our birch bark. Right like that. And I'll set this to the side on top. I'll gather some more kindling. I'll make a pile right over here. Nice big pile of kindling. I'll set it to the side so I have everything ready. So when I have that coal, I'm ready to rock and roll. So I'll keep this up and dry in the meantime. So let's take our welcome mat and our strap drill components, and we'll go over there and make a coal. So the first thing we want to do is find a log that's off the ground. And clear off the snow here because we're going to be leaning down on it with our knees. Okay. Take our axe off, put it to the side, our haversack. With our knife, I want to clear this area a little bit. Get it nice and flat. Because this is where I'm going to be working. Okay, so we got our hearth board. Okay. And I'll put the notch in front so you guys can see the notch. We got our welcome mat here. that on there. Get a little bank line. Tie a bowline. And I'm going to tie this to the log. So it's nice and tight. So I don't want this going anywhere. Okay, so this is nice and tight. It's not going to go anywhere. So I got my mouthpiece. My cordage, mouthpiece, and I got my spindle. I got my horseweed, spindle. So here's our spindle. You want to wrap it 3 times. Okay? And so this side is going to be lower than this side. And I want to keep these hands lower as I work it back and forth. So you want to wrap your spindle before you put your mouthpiece on, because you're going to drool. Okay? Hopefully we got a coal. Nope, not that time. So this hole is already spent. So I'm going to use all that dust that I just created. I'm going to push it back into the notch. I'm going to make a new hole right behind the old hole. Get set up here. Oh. I broke my spindle in half, but we have a coal. So we let that burn for a while. We let that coal establish itself and grow bigger. That'll keep it structurally sound. Let me zoom in so you can see the coal. Of course the battery's dying. So here's our coal. Alright, so let's go back into the man cave, the classroom, and I'll go over every component and all the nuances about each component and the technique of how it's a little bit different than bow drill, and all its subtleties. So let's go back to the man cave. Okay, so here are the components of the Arctic strap drill here. We have the fireboards. Again, they're a small version of the bow drill. Our spindle. Our mouthpiece here. And our cordage. Now the cordage for the strap drill, it can be made of cordage that is a subpar compared to what you need strength-wise for a bow drill. It could be bank line, which is strong enough for anything. It could be trash bags, or the hem of your shirt, or natural cordage that isn't that strong. You can still get away with the Arctic bow drill, or strap drill, I mean. Now the mouthpiece here, it's got to be made out of hardwood, okay? And it just has a circle, a divot in the middle here for your mouth. And it's got to be just long enough where it pokes out the sides of your mouth, maybe a ½ inch. And I like to drill a little hole so I can hang it around my neck and keep it close to my body. That way I have the mouthpiece and the cordage all together. Now the spindle is just a smaller version of a bow drill spindle. This one happens to be horseweed. Okay. Now the top, you angle it just like you would a normal spindle, pointed. And the bottom you want more like an acorn, blunt end here. And that way you get more surface area on the bottom and less surface area on the top. So you get less friction and more friction. Okay, for the spindle, we want our spindle to be pencil to little finger thick. We want it to be between 6 and 9 inches long, no longer than 9 inches. It's got to be straight, absolutely straight. The more, because if it's at all wobbly, that's going to cause more vibration in your teeth and in your head, and it'll vibrate out of the hole of the fireboard. Some good material to use is horseweed, which is this right here, elderberry stalks, mullein stalks, evening primrose, and the best is cedar. Cedar is good because it's available all year round also. If you can find these in the winter times standing dead upright, but cedar is the best to go to start learning your technique. Okay, let's talk about the fireboard here for a little bit. This particular one is made out of ash. I also have another one that is cedar. Okay. Now the fireboard needs to be made of softwood, and it's got to be between 3/4 and a 1/2 inch thick. All right. Now you cut your notch. You start your hole just like a bow drill, and then you burn a hole, and then you cut your notch, and then underneath here you have your welcome mat to collect the dust. All right. So it's just like a bow drill, just smaller version. And then after you use this bowl right here, what you can do is also make a new hole around that, just off to the side, so that the old hole will collect all the dust from the new hole. And that way you can keep on going, working along the line, and you get more coals out of one fireboard here. Alright, so I'm going to go through the motions here with you. I'm not going to produce too much smoke because I'm inside and I have a smoke detector. But with clamps, I got the fireboard clamped down to the table here. I got my mouthpiece, I got my spindle, and my cordage. So you got to wrap the cordage around 3 times right here. Okay. Now this side is going to be lower than this side. So you want to wrap this first, and then put your mouthpiece on top of the spindle, and then the last thing you want to do is put it in your mouth. That way there's less time for you to drool. Okay, so it's all about speed and control. So you don't want to bear down real hard on the spindle with your neck. It's all, first of all, you're using your neck muscles to push down, but you don't have to push down that hard. It's all about the speed. And because you have a smaller diameter spindle, you're creating more speed. So you have more control. You want to start off slow, again, keeping the low hand low. You want to start off slow, and you want to push down with your neck. Alright? And then start off slow, and then as it creates heat and you start to see smoke, you start going a little bit faster and a little bit faster. Again, you don't have to push down real hard. And plus you don't, because you know, if this thing pops out, you might poke yourself in the back of the neck or something like that, which I haven't done, because again, you don't have to push down real hard at all. It's all about speed and maintaining that momentum and creating that heat. hope you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making it. I'll see you on the next one.